Hello everyone and welcome once again to GSTEF TV, the home of real Nollywood buzz, midnight revelations, on-set tension, behind-the-scenes heat, and everything the streets are whispering but nobody else wants to unpack. Before we go into today's gist, I want you to hit that subscribe button right now because what I am about to tell you will shake your spine, squeeze your chest, and make you look at Maurice, Sam and Paul Watts in a completely different light. This gist is so hot that even the walls of the set where it happened are probably still vibrating from the intensity. So subscribe now, grab your seat, take a breath, and get ready because you are about to hear the raw version of what truly happened the night Maurice, Sam and Paul Watts were reportedly spotted inside Paul's car long after filming had wrapped. In fact, let me take you straight into the heart of the gist. The entire buzz started from a quiet film location in Asaba, the type of location where everyone minds their business until something unusual happens. Crew members had finished packing equipment, some actors were still doing their usual end-of-day selfies, and a few extras were waiting for transport when someone noticed that Paul Watts did not leave with the rest of the cast. At first nobody questioned it because Paul is known for occasionally sitting back to rehearse lines or discuss scenes with directors. But this time, something felt different because Maurice, Sam had also not left, and the two of them had not been seen together since the last shot was taken. According to the crew member who spoke, the real story began when Paul walked out quietly, heading straight to her car with her bag in her hand. She looked tired but not the ordinary kind of tired. She looked like someone carrying something heavy on her mind. She sat inside the car, closed the door, and for a moment everything seemed calm. But then, a few minutes later, Maurice appeared from the side of the building and walked towards the same car. That was the moment people started wondering what exactly was going on because Maurice looked like someone who had been pacing, someone who had been thinking deeply before coming over. What happened next is what has now turned into the kind of gist that can scatter timelines for days. Maurice opened the passenger door and entered Pearl's car. The two of them stayed there, doors closed, engine off, no lights on. Just the two of them in the kind of darkness where tension becomes louder than words. At first, the witness claimed they didn't think anything dramatic was happening until they noticed Maurice moving his hands repeatedly, gesturing in a way that looked like he was explaining something intensely. Meanwhile, Pearl was leaning back, her face turned slightly away, her body language rigid, almost like she was not ready to hear whatever he was saying. Then things shifted. According to the person who saw it, there was a moment when Pearl leaned forward and covered her face with both palms, the way someone does when they are overwhelmed or trying to stop tears from falling. That was when Maurice leaned closer to her, not aggressively but almost pleadingly, like he was trying to get her to look at him. At some point he even touched the back of her hand gently, and from outside the car, it looked like a desperate attempt to reach her emotionally. The witness said the entire car felt like it was vibrating with some kind of unresolved energy. The kind of energy that doesn't come from two people talking about scripts or lighting issues or production schedules. This was personal, deep, emotional, and heavy enough to make anyone watching hold their breath. They stayed in that car for almost 40 minutes. 40 minutes of hand gestures, tension, Paul covering her face, Maurice leaning closer, their silhouettes shifting in the dim interior of the car like something was breaking, something was being questioned, or something was being revealed. When Maurice finally stepped out of the car, his face looked stiff. Not angry, not upset, but like a man carrying a burden he couldn't drop. Pearl stayed inside for almost 10 more minutes before driving off. She didn't speak to anyone, didn't wave at the remaining crew, didn't even smile the way she normally does. She simply turned the ignition, reversed slowly, and left the compound with the windows rolled up. The next morning, the internet caught fire because Paul posted a cryptic message on her page that said, "Silence is also a response." That post alone turned the entire situation into a volcano waiting to erupt. The moment fans saw it, the comments started pouring in. People said she was referring to Maurice. Others said it could be about a director, a co-star, or even personal matters we know nothing about. But because the internet loves connecting dots even before the dots realized they were meant to be connected, people linked it instantly to the late-night car moment. By midday, the story had already become a trending whisper across Nollywood social circles. Some fans insisted it looked like a fight. Others said it looked like a breakup conversation. Some claimed it looked like the quiet end of a friendship, while others said it looked like the beginning of an emotional outburst neither of them could control. The most controversial interpretation came from fans who believe the two have more chemistry off-screen than Nollywood producers are even aware of. They said this kind of tension cannot exist between two people who are just colleagues. They insisted that something deeper had been brewing between them for a long time, something that had finally reached a tipping point that night. One fan wrote that the way Maurice leaned closer in that car did not look like a colleague resolving a work misunderstanding. It looked like a man begging someone he cares about not to walk away. Another fan wrote that Pearl covering her face could mean she was overwhelmed emotionally, not professionally. Someone else commented that Pearl's caption, "Silence is also a response," sounded like someone who had finally given up trying to explain their feelings or their boundaries to someone who wasn't getting it. By evening, more fan theories had emerged, turning the whole gist into a full-blown Nollywood thriller in real life. Some viewers said the duo had been too close lately and that perhaps feelings had developed. Others said Maurice and Pearl had been avoiding each other's social media posts for weeks, which could suggest they were going through a silent misunderstanding even before that night. A certain group of fans argued passionately that there is no way two adults would stay in a car for almost an hour, late at night, in the dark, discussing nothing but scripts. They said script conversations do not involve face covering, emotional gestures, or that kind of quiet stillness where the air itself feels heavy. They insisted that something personal was unfolding. Another set of fans, however, believed that the tension seen that night might have been related to a disagreement on set. They suggested that perhaps the director had pushed them too hard, or a particular scene caused a clash, or maybe there was a misunderstanding about roles, responsibilities, or expectations. But even those fans admitted that the energy looked far too emotional for it to be just work. Some online analysts connected their past interviews, searching for hidden clues about their dynamic. They pointed out videos where Maurice casually praised Pearl's work ethic and another where Pearl talked about how some co-stars tend to take things too personally. These clips were suddenly being dissected like evidence in a courtroom. People were watching their old behind-the-scenes footage more carefully, looking for tension, smiles, glances, or distance that they might have missed before. One thing was certain, the silence from both actors only fueled the fire. Neither Maurice nor Pearl posted anything to clarify the situation, which only made fans speculate even harder. People said if nothing serious happened, one of them would have posted something light-hearted to calm the storm. But their quietness made everything look even more suspicious. As the gist continued spreading, some fans started claiming they had always sensed some unpredictable energy between the two stars. They said Maurice and Pearl had chemistry that went beyond acting, a spark that producers loved but fans couldn't quite define. They believed the late-night conversation was the moment that spark turned into a flame that either burned too brightly or burned something down. A fan who claimed to have been on set earlier in the day said Maurice and Pearl had kept a noticeable distance from each other while filming. She said Maurice seemed distracted, occasionally checking his phone, while Pearl appeared focused but unusually quiet. This person even alleged that they didn't joke around the way they usually do. If that is true, then the car moment might have been the continuation of a conversation that had been building up all day. By the next morning, new rumors emerged. Some fans claimed Maurice had unfollowed a certain co-star earlier that week, and they wondered if it was connected to the situation with Pearl. Another rumor suggested that Pearl had recently turned down a certain project, and people speculated endlessly about why. Some even said that Maurice had been distant with another actress on set, leading people to believe he was trying not to complicate things further. Social media was divided into groups. One group believed this was a breakup moment between two people who were never public about being together. Another group believed it was the emotional conversation of two close friends trying to salvage their bond. The third group, the most dramatic group, insisted this was the kind of pre-relationship misunderstanding that happens when two people have feelings for each other but refuse to admit it. Throughout all the noise, Pearl's caption remained the loudest part of the whole gist. Silence is also a response. To some, it meant she had said all she needed to say. To others, it meant she had decided to walk away from someone or something. To many, it meant she was done explaining herself. And that is why fans concluded it was about the late-night car moment. Some fans argued that Maurice's silence after her post showed guilt, sadness, or respect for her privacy. Others said he didn't address it because the situation was too delicate to speak about publicly. People speculated about whether the two had spoken after that night, whether they were avoiding each other, whether they resolved things secretly, or whether they had chosen to keep their distance. One fan wrote a comment that went viral: "You cannot sit in darkness with someone for almost an hour unless there is something between you that words alone cannot fix." That comment alone intensified the speculation because it captured exactly what everyone was thinking but could not articulate. As the day went on, the gist took on a life of its own. People started recalling other moments where Pearl and Maurice had been seen together at events or parties. They replayed clips where they exchanged subtle glances or laughed at each other's jokes. They analyzed red carpet photos where they stood close or far from each other. Everything became a clue. By nighttime, the gist had grown into one of those stories Nollywood fans would keep discussing for weeks. Some said the car conversation was the end of something. Others believed it was the beginning. Some said it was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Others believed it was a life-changing conversation. But everyone agreed on one thing: something happened in that car. And just like that, the combination of late-night tension, emotional gestures, silent departure, and a cryptic post turned a normal filming day into one of the hottest controversies in Nollywood for the week. Whether the truth comes out or stays hidden, the moment has